Larry Bird was one of the biggest trash talkers in basketball. And a lot of people say, really? They thought it was Reggie or Charles.
Newland tried to go in the give and go with Sobers. Bird, yes, and he's fouled.
He tried to smother Larry Bird.
Thank God about Shelton. What a play by Bird.
Larry Bird was one of the most dominant forces in NBA history. Known for his unparalleled shooting ability, fierce competitiveness, and basketball IQ, Larry was the kind of player who could take over a game at any moment. But what made Larry Bird truly terrifying for his opponents wasn't just his skills on the court, it was his mentality. He didn't just beat you, he broke you down mentally, leaving players with a sense of fear and awe that few have ever matched. In this story, we'll hear from NBA legends and former players who faced off against Larry Bird during his legendary career. They'll share the stories of why they feared Larry on the court, the intimidation factor that made him one of the league's most feared players, and how his presence could shift the outcome of any game. The mental game Magic Johnson. Larry wasn't just a great player, he was a master of the mental game. When we were on the court, it was more than just X's and O's. He knew how to get into your head. He would talk trash, and it wasn't just meaningless words. He said things that would make you second guess yourself. He knew your weaknesses before you did, and that's what made him so dangerous. If you weren't mentally prepared, he would make sure you left the court questioning everything you knew about the game. Isiah Thomas. Larry didn't need to be physically intimidating. His confidence was what made him scary. I remember one game where we were up by 10 and he looked over at me and said, "I'm coming for you, Isiah. I'm taking this game over." And damn, he did. The thing with Larry was, he'd never back down. No matter what the score was or how much time was left, he had this unshakable belief that he would win. It was contagious and it could wear you out. The trash talk and fear factor, Dominique Wilkins. Larry was one of the best trash talkers in the game, but it wasn't just about what he said, it was about how he said it. He had this calm, almost methodical way of breaking you down. In one playoff series, we were matched up, and he just kept looking at me and saying, "You can't stop me. You know that, right?" And honestly, there were times when I wasn't sure I could. That's the kind of confidence he exuded, and it was hard not to get shaken by it. Kevin McHale. When we were teammates, Larry would give us this look in practice, like he was setting us up for something huge. In games, it was the same thing. He'd tell you exactly what he was going to do, and then he'd do it. There was no guessing, no hoping. He didn't just make you fear his skill, he made you fear his certainty. You knew that if the game was on the line, Larry was going to deliver. And that type of mental edge is what really set him apart. The legendary battles. Michael Jordan. I played against a lot of great players in my career, but Larry Bird, he was on another level. The way he could create offense without breaking a sweat, the way he could guard you just by reading your body language, it was intimidating. The thing about Larry was that he wasn't afraid of anyone, and that fearlessness translated into his game. He'd challenge you and make you challenge yourself. He had this presence, and when he got the ball, you knew it was over. He didn't need the flashiness, it was the precision that was frightening. The post-game respect, Charles Barkley. After games, you couldn't help but respect him. Larry's trash talk wasn't personal. It was just his way of getting in your head and making sure you were mentally ready for the next round. That was Larry's genius. He didn't just want to beat you, he wanted to make you respect him, even if it meant breaking you down in the process. I can't say that I wasn't scared of Larry, but I can say that after every game, I learned something new about how to be a better player. The legacy of Larry Bird, Reggie Miller. Larry Bird is a legend not just because of his stats or championships, but because of instilled in every player he faced. His mental toughness, his clutch shots, and his ability to rise to the occasion made him a nightmare. He's the reason I learned how to never give up, to always keep fighting, because if Larry could do it, why couldn't I? His legacy isn't just in the numbers he put up, it's in the way he forced every other player to elevate their game. Larry Bird wasn't just a basketball player, he was an icon, a force that terrified anyone who dared to face him. His mental toughness, his impeccable skill, and his relentless drive made him one of the most feared players in NBA history. It wasn't just his three-point shooting or his passes, it was his confidence, his ability to break opponents down both physically and mentally, that made Larry Bird the player no one wanted to face in the clutch. The NBA legends who faced off against him in those intense battles will always remember why they were scared of him. And to this day, Larry Bird's legacy remains one of the most powerful in the history of the game. Larry Bird wasn't just feared for his offensive skills, it was his fierce competitive spirit that set him apart. Whether in the regular season or the playoffs, Bird's drive to win was unmatched. NBA legends recall his ability to elevate not only his game, but the games of those around him, while also breaking the spirit of his opponents. Magic Johnson describes the intensity of their rivalry. Larry didn't just beat you on the scoreboard, he beat you mentally. It wasn't a game anymore, it was a battle. He wanted you to think about every move you made, every word you said. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to dominate you. He could break you down and make you doubt yourself. That's why I always respected him so much. It wasn't just his aggressive nature that made Bird feared. It was his approach to competition. He understood the value of psychological warfare. It wasn't enough to simply be good. Bird needed to make sure you knew he was better, and he'd do that by any means necessary. The silent assassin. His deadly quiet confidence. While Bird was known for his trash talk, it wasn't his words that terrified opponents. It was the quiet confidence in his eyes. He exuded a calm that unnerved defenders. His approach was meticulous, and every movement had purpose. When he stepped onto the court, there was a sense of inevitability, as if the outcome was already written. His calm demeanor was like a storm brewing, and the storm would inevitably strike when you least expected it. Charles Barkley recalls, "When Larry made eye contact with you, you knew the game had already been decided. It wasn't arrogance, it was certainty. That was the scariest thing about him. He was just as dangerous when he was calm and quiet as he was when he was talking trash." Bird's demeanor didn't change based on the score or situation. Whether he was up by 20 or down by 5, he was in complete control. For the players on the other team, that made him an even more formidable adversary. Known for his unparalleled shooting ability, fierce competitiveness, and basketball, IQ Larry was the kind of player who could take over a game at any moment. IQ was another reason why so many NBA legends feared him. He had an innate ability to read the game. Not just the play in front of him, but what would happen 5 steps ahead. His passing, timing, and decision-making were unmatched. Opponents often found themselves outplayed before they even knew what was happening. Isiah Thomas reflects on Bird's court vision. Larry could see the play unfolding before it even started. He had this sixth sense about the game. He knew where every player would be, what the defense was going to do. He'd make passes that left you shaking your head, wondering how the hell he knew that pass was coming. It was like he could predict the future, and that made him impossible to guard. It wasn't just Bird's individual skills that made him dangerous. It was his ability to make everyone around him better. Whether it was hitting an open teammate for an easy basket or using his own scoring ability to create opportunities for others, Bird had an incredible understanding of how to manipulate the game. The clutch performances. Ice in his veins. When the game was on the line, Larry Bird was the player who wanted the ball in his hands. His legendary clutch moments have become part of NBA lore, with fans and players alike remembering his ability to execute under pressure. His ability to come through in the clutch made him a player you didn't want to face with the game on the line. Reggie Miller, who played against Bird and later became an NBA star himself, recalls, "Larry was the ultimate closer. He wanted the ball when it mattered most. I remember one of his game winners in Boston. He was covered, the clock was ticking down, and yet you knew he was going to make it. It didn't even seem like a challenge for him. The moment didn't faze him. That confidence, that mentality, was terrifying." In Game 5 of the 1984 NBA Finals, Bird demonstrated this perfectly. With the Celtics down, Bird hit one of his most iconic shots, a game-winning three-pointer over Cliff Robinson. His composure under pressure earned him the reputation of a cold-blooded assassin. The rivalries. Respect and fear. Collide Larry Bird's fierce rivalry with Magic Johnson is often considered one of the greatest in sports history. They first met in the 1979 NCAA Championship, where Magic's Michigan State defeated Bird's Indiana State. This was just the beginning of a legendary rivalry that would define the NBA for over a decade. Their battles in the 1980s were legendary. Magic and Bird went back and forth, winning titles, breaking records, and pushing each other to new heights. But for Magic, the respect he had for Bird went hand in hand with a healthy fear. "I always respected Larry because he made you earn every single point. He wasn't going to just let you win. He was going to force you to fight for it, and he never backed down. There were times when I was worried he was going to hit the game winner. He knew how to break you mentally, and that was his strength." The trash talk, psychological warfare. Larry Bird's trash-talking ability was infamous, but it wasn't just about words. It was the way he would use them to destabilize his opponents. His trash talk was never random. It was strategic. Bird would call his shots before he made them, daring you to stop him, but making sure that you would fail in the process. It wasn't just about confidence, it was about undermining the other player's sense of security. Kevin McHale, Bird's Celtics teammate, shares, "Larry would get into your head. It wasn't just about saying things to rile you up. It was about making you feel like you weren't good enough to beat him. He'd say, 'I'm going to hit this shot in your face, and you won't do anything about it.' And damn if he didn't make it." That psychological edge made Larry Bird a player that every opponent feared, but also respected. The intensity, the mind games, the clutch shooting. Larry Bird was the complete package, and he knew it. The fear that never left. Larry Bird wasn't just a basketball player. He was a living, breathing force of nature. His ability to dominate physically, mentally, and emotionally made him a player that opponents feared and revered in equal measure. It wasn't just the points he scored or the passes he made, it was the presence he brought to the court. In the end, Larry Bird was feared not just because of what he did on the court, but because of the way he made you feel. He made you fear your own weaknesses, he made you question your ability, and he made you know that no matter how hard you tried, you were never safe when he was around. If you're intrigued by how Larry Bird's mind games and fierce competitiveness impacted his opponents, stay tuned for more behind-the-scenes stories. Subscribe now for exclusive content, more legendary tales, and in-depth features on some of the greatest players to ever step onto the NBA court.